Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Eka Lupiana with name 12015222760. I'm from PMT 2A. The history of the conflict between Palestine and Israel. Jews and their claim to Palestine have actually been around for a long time. After being explained by the Persian and the Romans from Palestine, their status was not long entitled to the land, but apparently they started to squirm again when the First World War erupted. It was then that through again they finally tried to get back the land that had belonged to the Muslims for thousands of years. The history that has been explained in the land of Palestine is very long. The area that is currently facing a heading situation is actually a place that is considered sacred to the three major religions in the world, namely Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. For Muslims, this city is the dear holy city after Mecca and Medina. In this place where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is located. The mosque that was once established for the Prophet Muhammad during the Isra Mi'raj before heading to vomiting to receive order for the 5 daily prayer. Meanwhile, for the Jews, the area of Jerusalem was the promised land. So, since thousands of years, there have also been countless wars and casualties due to the seizure of this city. This area, which lies between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River, was once conquered by the Persians under the leadership of Nebuchadnezzar II, namely in 597 BC. It was at the time that the Jews were expanded to Babylon and many holy children had been destroyed. Meanwhile, during the reign of Cyrus Agung, who succeeded in conquering Babylon, the Jews were finally allowed to return to Jerusalem and their holy place were allowed to be rebuilt. In the year 63 AD, Jerusalem was in the Roman rule, which of course made the Jews unhappy. In just 3 years, a great war broke out between the Jews and the Romans for a period of 4 years. At the end of the war, the Romans won. The remaining Jews after that great event had to finally leave. After that, for approximately 600 years, Jerusalem was under Roman rule. In 6037 AD, during the conquest of Muslims in the Syrian regions, Muslim troops also began to approach the Jerusalem area under the leadership of Khalid bin Walid and Amr bin As. At the time, Jerusalem was under the responsibility of the head bishop of the church in Jerusalem, namely Bishop Sophronius. At the time, Jerusalem was surrounded by Muslim troops, but Sophronius still refused to surrender Jerusalem unless the Caliph Umar bin Khattab came to him immediately. Hearing this, Umar bin Khattab, who was in Madium, went straight to Jerusalem after meeting Sophronius. The key to Jerusalem was handed over to the Caliph. Caliph Umar bin Khattab gave guarantees to people of religions other than Muslim in the regions to live in peace without encouraging at all to abandon their belief, even guaranteed that their property and crosses would still stand firmly in the area without any disturbance. This space and area was still a Muslim land until the outbreak of First World War, when the First World War II breached under the rule of Mehmed V, to the Ottoman Turkey Empire chose to ally with Germany against Britain and France. This situation was then immediately exploited by the Arab National Movement group as well as the Zionist group. The two groups that sided with the UK certainly had their own journal of interest. For the Arab Nationalist Movement group, this opportunity was used to achieve their long-standing goals and ideal, namely the liberation of Arab countries. Hussein bin Ali, one of the figures, was corresponded with a British commissioner in Egypt named Sir Henry Mahon. These two groups made contact by correspondence during the period 1914 until 1915. In this latter stage, the willingness of the Arabs to ally themselves by helping the British from Britain to recognize the independence of the Arab countries once the war is over. The madness of England and France, the signed the sieges Picot 30 in 1916, the contest of which contradicted the agreement with the Arab nationalist movement. In the agreement, both of them agreed to divide the territory that formerly belonged to the Ottoman Turkey. Jewish figure in England, namely Lord Baron Sale, built an agreement with the then British Foreign Minister Arthur James. This agreement is also known as the Balfour Declaration, which was signed on November 1919. The Balfour Declaration started the Britain would seek Palestine to become a home for the Jewish people, but with a guarantee that it would not interfere with the religious right of non-Jews residing in Palestine. This was considered as the result or forerunner of the formation of the State of Israel, which is located in Palestine. This declaration then went into the Peace Treaty of the Ottoman Turks and their allies on August 1920, post-World War. The most heartbreaking part is the content of this peace agreement is to divide the territory of the Ottoman Turkey, where France get the majority of the territory of Syria and Lebanon, while Britain got the majority of Iraq and Palestine. The Palestine territory itself is divided into two. The eastern part becomes Transjordan and the western part remains called Palestine. We come to this British mandate. Jews from all over the world come to Palestine in droves. The rate of immigration of Jews to Palestine is increased sharply, especially at the time they received special protective from the British. In addition, at the time, anti-Semitic movements in various parts of the world, especially in Europe, were on the rich, putting their lives at risk. Then, the choice to occupy the land of Palestine is like a heavenly grace. During the years 1919 until 1926, about 100,000 Jews arrived in Palestine and began to evict land belonging to the Palestinians who had been lived there for a long time. They claimed there little by little until finally they built the state of Israel on a sovereign state. Yeah, this Israel is the one country in the world that does not have a territory. To this day, Muslims in Palestine continue to try to defend their country territory against the earthquakes of Israel reports.
Okay, thank you for watching and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.